I'm doing great, Ken. I really appreciate your introduction, painting me as the MVP, CBS Sports. It's a great team, and I'm happy to be part of it, and happy to be here with you on this lovely day.
Well, I could have thrown in Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, but I just didn't want to embarrass you too much because you are very good at what you do. Now, this story you have, 2026 NFL free agency, ideal landing spots for top 10 remaining free agents, including a Super Bowl most valuable player. Now, let me ask you this, Garrett. Explain to us in layman's terms why June 1st was such an important date in the NFL calendar.
So June 1st is a big accounting day in the NFL. And what it does is after June 1st, that's when teams around the league can get more creative with the salary cap. There's a number of, just based on collective bargaining agreement, you can release each team up to 2 players a year as post-June 1 designations, and that allows for a salary cap charge to be spread, across the deal. Like, for example, the Miami Dolphins, they cut Tua Tagovailoa this offseason. Even though he was released in March and signed the Atlanta Falcons on a 1-year deal, he was designated by Miami as a, quote, post-June 1 cut. It allows him to spread out his cap hit of the remaining 2 or 3 years of his deal in more manageable amounts. And the same goes for trades, because plenty of guys, like we saw Myles Garrett was traded out of the AFC North to the Los Angeles Rams, A.J. Brown out of the NFC East over to the AFC and the New England Patriots. Those big contracts for star players come with salary cap hits when you trade them. And so when those teams, the Eagles and the Browns, did so on June 1st, it allowed them to spread out the cap hit for making those moves, make it more manageable for this year and next year on their cap.
Okay, so now we understand the why. Now we've got the who, and you've listed a lot of players here. They all look like they may be approaching time to collect Medicare. I mean, they're all older players, well into their 30s. I mean, you got guys like Keenan Allen, Von Miller, even a guy like Cameron Jordan, who I swear I had to say, wait a minute, he's still in the league, but he was. And, this is a very talented player, but the name that's out there that has been linked with the Bengals, and apparently the Bengals aren't that interested in him, is Bobby Wagner, 35-year-old linebacker. Now, they're going with the kids here. They're going with the kids. It doesn't seem like they have any great desire to go out and sign a veteran like Bobby Wagner. But what are the problems with all of these guys? Is it money? Is it what they're used to making? Is it age? I'm looking at Wagner. I think he's got gasoline left in the tank. Does he just want more money than he thinks he's worth?
Well, for a lot of these veterans, they don't feel like participating in the spring off-season program, organized team activities, OTAs as they're known, mandatory minicamp. For some vets, they kind of feel like, that's old hat. I can just pick up, any playbook pretty quickly. So some of these vets would just prefer to sign with teams until after the spring portion of the off-season program, and then just show up for training camp and get rolling at that point. So that's probably, I would say, the biggest reason for a lot of these guys on the market. And I would understand why Cincinnati would maybe go after someone like Bobby Wagner, because you mentioned the kids, and specifically that would be Barrett Carter, a 2025 fourth-round pick, and Demetrius Knight Jr., a 2025 second-round pick. If we're just going by Pro Football Focus grading, which, some of their tracking stats, I would say, are more reliable or more commensurate than others, in terms of just overall Pro Football Focus defensive grade, out of 88 qualified linebackers, Demetrius Knight Jr. was 83rd out of 88, and Barrett Carter was 85th out of 88. And then Oren Burks, who was on the team last year, he was actually dead last. He was 88th out of 88. Oh. So they've got youth in the room. Why not bring someone like Bobby Wagner, a future Hall of Fame middle linebacker, and just to maybe help them refine parts of their games, maybe become a better study, or just learn fundamentals from arguably one of the best, or if not the best, middle linebackers of the 2010s.
No, the other thing, too, is these are older players. Older players tend to get hurt, I would guess, at a more frequent pace than younger players, although injury can strike at any age in any sport, but maybe they don't want the specter of that hanging over their head. I'm not saying Wagner is going to get hurt, but for all of these players on the list, it would stand to reason that the older you are, the more likely you're going to get hurt. Why do you want to bring a guy in at the expense of someone else you may cut in camp, and then all of a sudden the guy gets hurt, and you have that hanging over your head, a guy you counted on? The age may have a lot to do with this.
For sure. And I'd also say age is also probably a reason why some of these guys are still in the league. Talking with Washington and their rise to the NFC Championship in the 24 season, Jaden Daniels and others, they cited Bobby Wagner's leadership as a veteran presence on that team to be one of the factors of how they were able to turn things around so quickly in Dan Quinn's first year there. But I think also you talk about play time with older guys. Some of these guys back half of their careers, maybe they're not as expecting or demonstrative about play time. So maybe some of these guys like a Wagner could be more content just being that like veteran mentor in the locker room.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. You mentioned the trades that went down. The Myles Garrett trade was surprising. Obviously, the Death Star out there in Los Angeles, Sean McVay, who is a modern-day Darth Vader, he's just trying to gather as many of these quality players as possible for a big run. It didn't surprise me that Garrett went there. It surprised me that the trade actually happened. I mean, they just did a deal with Garrett. You had gone through free agency, you'd gone through the draft, you'd gone through all of that stuff with not even a whiff that Myles Garrett may be on the block, and then all of a sudden he winds up in L.A. So, I mean, it's great for L.A. We'll see what it does for Cleveland down the road. But were you surprised that thing actually went down?
I was surprised on the where. I wasn't surprised it went down because the Browns did something to Myles Garrett's contract where they moved the date of when his guaranteed bonus money was going to hit his contract in the salary cap. It was going to be sometime in the spring, and they moved that date up to a week before the start of the regular season and end of August, beginning of September. And so what that signaled to me was that they were moving that around so that any team that would potentially be interested in trading for him could have a little more salary cap flexibility to get their ducks in a row financially if they traded for Garrett. So once they did that move and deferred his bonus money until a few months from now, that to me, I think signaled that the Browns were maybe open to listening to deals. But I agree with you. I wasn't sure if he was going to get traded right now, but I think that move was definitely a sign to the rest of the league, hey, give us a call if you're interested.
You mentioned the A.J. Brown trade to the Patriots where they have enough drama going on. Now they trade for Brown. And look, talent trumps everything, right? Headaches, right. Off-field antics, doesn't matter. If you can catch the ball and win a football game, it's all that matters. But, I mean, this is A.J. Brown. He was on the sidelines reading a book at one point during a game. He was with a franchise that was one of the best franchises in football, and he wanted out for whatever reason. But now he goes to New England. That's a great get for New England, but I'm just wondering, at a certain point, divas are divas. We're lucky here in Cincinnati. Chase, Higgins, they're not divas. That's a diva position. Now that diva position is going to a team that's got enough drama. So my question is really, what's going on in New England, and did they really need to import all the baggage that A.J. Brown brings with him?
Well, when you talk about the diva component with A.J. Brown, I kind of feel like his diva behavior was very situation-specific in terms of the Eagles. If you look at some underlying analytical stats about where is A.J. Brown the best, where does he thrive in terms of where he runs his routes? It's over the middle of the field. It's deep over the middle, and that's where he really thrives. And the last couple of years with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, was just kind of hesitant to throw over the middle. A lot of Hurts targets for Brown were along the sidelines and in kind of, not as dynamic routes, more like out routes, hitches, things like that, kind of more vanilla play calling. Some of that maybe you could put on the offensive coordinator who they let go, Kevin Patullo. Some of that's on Hurts. I mean, ESPN had kind of a well-sourced deep dive into all that drama regarding their offensive structure in Philadelphia. So to me, I look at A.J. Brown and think maybe he was just tired of playing in a conservative passing offense like the Eagles had. And so maybe the Patriots are the best place for him to rediscover his love for the game, because Drake May led the NFL in yards per pass attempt, passer rating, completion percentage, expected points added per drop back. And so he's going to a young quarterback who is probably going to have his ear and listen to what Brown's saying. I mean, I saw a clip from OTAs in New England that Brown was at, and Drake May was saying to A.J. Brown, there was mics around, and he said, you tell me where you want it. My job is to get the ball to you.
Wow.
So going to a quarterback like that a little earlier in his career, May was the 2025 MVP runner-up. Maybe that reinvigorates Brown and tamps down some of his diva situation.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's a legitimate explanation you just gave. Garrett Podell, CBSSports.com, our guest. We're talking about unsigned free agents still out there in good fits. Dan Graziano, ESPN, reported this week that the Bengals may be in the market for a running back, someone to back up Chase Brown. Of course, Samaje Perine is still on the roster. They drafted Taj Brooks last year. But, the thought of Brown going down and having either one of those behind him as the primary backup probably is not an appetizing thought. He's talking about players like James Conner, Trey Benson, even Alvin Kamara as possible trade options. I'm just wondering, as you look at the Bengals roster offensively, it's not wanting for very much. Could you envision a scenario where the Bengals actually go out and try to trade for an established veteran?
Yeah, I could certainly see it. And, we mentioned how it's a little easier to make some of these moves post June 1, and that's certainly the case with Kamara. He had, his worst statistical year this past year, but prior to that was pretty much every year churning out 1,000+ yards from scrimmage, a dynamic after the catch threat. So, I mean, and he could be someone who, the Saints are looking to unload. He's in the last year of his contract, so it's not necessarily a massive financial undertaking to acquire him, especially since everyone knows the Saints are looking to feature Travis Etienne, who they signed in free agency from Jacksonville this offseason. So maybe it's someone like that. I think after looking at the draft selection of Jeremiah Love, 3rd overall, and then they also signed Tyler Algier from the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. The Cardinals have a running back logjam. So, whether it's James Conner, who had an injury-plagued year in 25, but was a 1,000-yard back in both 2023 and 2024, that can maybe make some sense. Trey Benson, 2024 third-round pick, who's going to be 24 this summer, would kind of be a more affordable bet on potential. Maybe it's someone like Braylon Allen from the New York Jets. The Jets just re-signed Breece Hall to a strong 3-year contract, and Allen, even though he's been in the league a couple of years, is still just 22 years old. So maybe that's somebody that the Bengals would be worth picking up the phone and giving a call for.
Yeah, I mean, when you're all in, kind of like what we talked about with L.A., when you're all in, then you have to explore every single possible angle to make you better. And I think that it may be something that's in the works. We'll find out. The Bengals appear to be all in. We'll see.
Oh, absolutely. The Lawrence trade, the defensive signings for Mafe. Yeah, I think they're definitely all in, which makes sense. I mean, Joe Burrow was having existential crises at the podium at a few press conferences. So I totally understand. And yeah, it's such a margins game, what gets you over the edge in football. So I totally understand Cincinnati looking to pad that backup running back spot.
Garrett Podell, CBSSports.com. You keep the boys in line there, and we'll be calling down the road. Thank you, Garrett.
Absolutely, Ken. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to talking again soon.